Hello, everyone. I'm Keen47, aka Wolfkeen, and welcome to the Wolf Podcast, where we'll be talking about the 5th episode of Persona 5 the animation, The Phantoms. With me here today is...
Hello everyone, I am Mikami Steven Phone 3000.
Hey everyone, this is FlOrangey.
Hey everyone, this is Mario Fanboy 15, aka that guy who thinks she highest most underrated waifu Persona girl.
Didn't you just say honest best waifu in the previous episode?
There's difference between best and underrated.
Fair enough.
They're both blonde though.
Fair, that's fair. That's a very reasonable argument. Good job.
Though Nelson doesn't think Jihai is waifu material.
No, I don't, but then again, that's my own personal opinion, so...
You didn't even do her support.
Yeah, true enough. But anyways, we are here
Everyone has their own opinions.
Anyways, we are here with the fifth episode. Now, first things first, any comparisons that we make to the game and the animation are purely done for analytical reasons. And before we do anything else, let me get the general synopsis out the way. So this is after the Kamoshida Palace, so they pretty much sell the palace's treasure, which is Kamoshida's Olympic gold medal, basically. They sell it, they go and have a celebration party, and after a couple of events that happened to Ryuji, Ren, and also An, they decide that they want to keep doing this. They want to keep going as the Phantom Thieves, so they decide to make it, like, you know, a full thing. Literally calling themselves the Phantoms. Yeah, stupid name. We also get to see, like, the introduction of mementos, and we also get our first hint at the next target. And I think we can all agree on this first statement. This is super a filler episode.
It is a filler.
It's
tutorial episode.
Yeah, technically filler, but I also like to call it the exposition episode as well.
Yeah.
No, exposition is technically the beginning. This was game mechanics, the episode.
Yeah.
Would you like to learn how to play the video game? Doesn't this all look fantastic? You should probably play the game.
Oh my god.
That's not an advertisement, but still.
Yeah, exactly, but the worst part is I don't disagree with you on that one. Especially considering, okay, to all those people that probably skipped the previous episode with the spoiler bumper, let me tell you something right now. At one point, we pretty much talked about how there were ways they could have, like, removed that spoiler part at the beginning of the, you know, at the end of the previous episode and replaced it with something else. They literally did it at the beginning of this episode.
That was complete. That just makes the last episode look worse in comparison. Make it completely pointless.
At least the final part, yeah, it does. Though we're not going to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. Well, you know what I'm talking about, the final part.
Yeah, we're not going to say it here because that is a bit of a spoiler. That is still a spoiler. But yeah, we're just going to say the way that this episode begins literally should have been how the previous episode ended after the credits.
I'm just like, congratulations, Persona 5 the animation. You just unnecessarily spoiled newcomers who haven't played the game yet.
Yeah, so that's the first thing, like, I at least wanted us all to get off our chest, but let's move on to general thoughts of the episode itself. So starting with Dean.
It's a me. So I basically stated my opinion from the from the upfront, saying that this is kind of like the filler exposition episode. If you want to learn about game mechanics of how Persona 5 works, way more than the friggin' palaces. Like, I think we got, like, confidants, shopping, selling stuff, how the Phantom Thieves were formed, all that stuff within the episode, and mementos. But yeah, that's about it. I really wasn't like that as super enthused with this episode as much. I think I got a couple of laughs here and there, but otherwise, it was all right. The episode overall.
Yeah, I think that's the general consensus, honestly, with this episode, is that it doesn't really add much besides some basic stuff.
And I'll just say this: out of all the episodes, I have the least to say about this one. I have not much thoughts on this.
Yeah, and even differences between this and the game, there's very little.
Yeah, because they do a lot that is from the game.
Yeah, pretty much. And I guess that is a good thing when you think about it, like, that they... in a way, it's a good thing, but also I feel like in another way, it's also a negative. But I guess we'll get into that when we actually do start talking about the comparisons.
Yeah, so I'm good. So, Cole?
I liked it. I liked the episode. I thought, like, yeah, it didn't really do anything new. It is basically by the numbers the game, but I thought that it was paced pretty well. We finally got to see Mementos, which was good, and we are getting the lead up to the next arc. That's more or less what I really only have to say. I mean, I liked it. There's some stuff in it I didn't like, but I did like how we got to see during the little exposition moment, Ren, Ryuji, and On kind of just hanging out a little bit.
Oh yeah, that was actually a really good scene, especially since actually yeah, there is something I want to know, but we'll note that later. But I did like how they were actually like spending time with each other like casually rather than just oh yeah, Ren is just gonna hang out with one of them for a day.
And since you did bring this up, Cole, at least there's some foreshadowing on what the next arc is.
Especially the
Yeah,
ending.
because we went through because we were introduced to Mementos, we're getting the lead up to the next story arc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially from hearing from Nakanohara's shadow about a person by the name of Madarame.
Mhm.
I also have to say that this episode actually fixed one issue I had with the last episode, and that was Takami. I think that what we saw in this episode with Ren and Takami should have been what we got in episode 4, instead of her just randomly handing you a bag of drugs that could potentially kill you.
Yeah. When I saw what Ren was holding, I was just like, is that meth?
Oh my god.
Or cocaine. It looked more like coke.
Also, and I know this is a weird thing to bring up, but one of the few times we're actually seeing the main character Ren in like outside of his blazer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He's in his winter casual gear.
Yeah, exactly. Like we actually see the shirt under there. I mean, granted, you kind of get that idea with Mishima because that's what he wears all the time, but still.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of cool to see that because we don't really get to see like the smaller details of outfits.
Anyway, Cole, did you have anything else to say?
There's a certain character I want to punch in the face, but we'll not get to that because I know that's going to start fighting.
Well, I know we're going to talk about that so-called someone momentarily.
Well, anyways, Zachary, you're up.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
But overall, while this is a filler episode, I do like how it's used to sort of give us a few extra things and establish what's going to happen next. I feel like because pretty much at this point, in this episode, everything starts really to get set in motion. Along with the thing for the next arc, we also see, was she named in this episode, Makoto? I think so.
Yeah. She was named.
She's told by the principal to start investigating the matter. So, like, even though this episode could be considered filler, it is essentially a lead-up episode, and for that I can say that I definitely enjoyed it.
That's fair. Extremely fair.
Fair enough. Yeah. Zachary, what do you need to say? What do you want to say about this episode?
Like I said earlier, I don't really have much thoughts on this episode. It was, I was like, it was fine. Nothing too great about it, but not really thing I hated either. It's just, like I said, the exposition episode, not much I have to say on it. I'm looking through my notes. I like how it foreshadows, I like how it foreshadows, the next arc, like I said earlier. I guess one weird thing, which I guess is gonna be a testament that it's not gonna show up in every episode, but first episode where there's no appearance of the Velvet Room in any kind, but that makes sense.
Yeah, there's no
Actually-
reason.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, well, there's no reason for it for the most part, I guess, in this part.
I remember the fact we still need to learn their names in the animation.
Yeah, they still haven't even said it. It's like,
Yep.
Mhm.
Episodes where the Velvet Room twins hasn't been named.
Currently,
Yeah.
I guess 4.
Yeah.
5, technically, because we're on
Yeah,
episode 5
5
now.
now.
Mhm.
When will they be named? Seriously.
Watch them not get named until like the very end of the series.
Oh,
We
screw
only
that.
know them.
Watch Ren just suddenly know their names when they get their episode, and us just being like, when did he learn that?
Exactly.
Off screen.
It is one of the deleted scenes. A
Zachary,
very weird deleted scene.
Zachary, there anything else you wanted to say?
I'm trying to think. Not really. I guess I like, I like the bit where they're celebrating. I like that whole sequence of events. Oh wait. There was one thing. There was one thing I need to mention, and this isn't really a comparison to the game. This is definitely a general thing. That wasn't even a fight. Just all out attack from the get-go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a bit.
I'm okay. I'm annoyed by that, but kind of okay because fights in this anime really don't work very well.
I
Yeah,
know,
they
but
usually just cut to the all-out attack, but I want them to improve.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm so disappointed because the animation fights from like the Daybreakers from last year look so good.
and Persona
Which is
3
funny.
and Persona 3 and Persona 4's like animation/movies prove that they could do fight scenes really well.
Yeah, it's like the shadow fights were the highlights for me from that anime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, at least they improved the all-out attack still. Too bad it took 5 episodes to get there.
I still have problems with the sounds, but it was better. So
Mhm.
because you can't, it's not as effective when you don't hear the whoosh at the end.
Yeah, you're
when
right.
the background appears.
I don't know. Ren's hand movement still looks a bit weird.
it does,
It's
unfortunately.
very choppy.
It is.
The movement is still choppy, but the final still looks a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just glad they have
This
the
is
shows
definitely going to be an
over.
anime that's better on Blu-ray.
Oh
Yeah.
man. Anyways, Zachary, that all you gotta say?
Yep. That's all I gotta say. That was pretty much my biggest complaint with the episode. Just that.
So for me to get it out the way very quickly, I'm very middle of the road with this episode. It gave us a lot of good information, which I'm very happy about, but I feel like this episode played it a little too safe. You know how like we always make comparisons to like the anime and the game and otherwise? This episode really doesn't have that many comparisons to the point that I'm kind of like, yeah, this is very close to the game only for like a select few moments and otherwise. But I feel like that's the biggest problem. It's like, at this point, I've kind of gotten used to many of the changes that the animation has done compared to the game, to the point that I kind of want to see what changes they make. Here, however, they didn't make any, and not that it's saying that they could, I'm just saying I wish they did. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's weird. It's a weird sort of... I guess it's a personal problem that I can honestly say.
I can see what you mean, because it's like we get so used and interested in like what changes that they're going to make from the game to to an anime adaptation. So when they're just basically, going through the what you experience in the game, it's kind of like going through the motions a bit, like stuff that we would expect.
Yeah,
out of it.
exactly. Beyond that, like I said, I'm just very middle of the road with the episode. It was very exposition heavy. The beginning of the episode just makes the previous episode's ending part much worse. And like I said, I am a little sad.
You could literally start this episode off with them getting like Kamashi's like gold medal thing.
And not to mention, it's like I am a little upset that the freaking Mementos fight was nothing more than an all-out attack. Like, it's like, I'm evil, all-out attack. I'm sorry, goodbye.
That was hilariously disappointing.
Yeah, especially in just how epic he was. Like, I'm turning into a monster, and it's just like, oh, it's an Operium. Okay, We're just gonna all out attack you. I'm sorry.
Hey, guys, we're sorry.
Will you
Sorry.
We're sorry.
But yeah, it's like that's the biggest thing that kind of annoyed me because I was like, oh, this because I have to admit it was the shadow, like the person's shadow turning into another like another persona basically. That was cool. The way they did the animation on that was really cool.
Yeah.
But then it's like such a good payoff led to nothing basically.
Well, it led to a better looking all-out attack, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And especially disappointing because as he's transforming, he's kind of like, how come you guys aren't going after that, after this guy?
Yeah, Madarame. He said his name.
Yeah. Just like, and so it's like the build up to that was nice.
Yeah, it was. It was cool. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I guess that's the thing. It's like the few things that they did add in there, I wasn't really a fan of. So it's like, yeah, I'm very middle of the road with this episode. And you know what? That does transition us to some of the differences between the game and the animation, which I think we can all agree there's not that many.
The one thing that immediately comes to mind is that they mentioned the group name not at the dinner not the dinner thing, but on like the subway thing.
They mention it through text message instead.
Yeah, they message they do it through text message while they're hanging out for the day.
Which, might I say, why did they go with the frickin' default option? I checked that thing off. As soon as I saw that, I was basically like, no, that is lame. That name is lame. And then they were just like, the Phantoms. I'm like, do you lack
Phantoms of the Opera.
Just to, oh my god, yeah, and that's that is one thing I didn't like, but
yeah, there's one different one of discussing we should do this we should become Phantom Thieves full time. They discussed a different location.
Yeah, well, yeah, because An was going to see Shiho and Ryuji was heading back home, and Ren was already back in his room.
Going back to the Phantoms thing,
yeah,
I think this one might be one. Like I was actually doing a little bit of digging around, and I think this might be one of those cases of it getting lost in translation, because apparently there is a word in kanji that translates to phantoms, but when Ren was making the suggestion, he was typing it in katakana, which basically means using the English word for phantom. In the subtitles, Ryuji said something about, so we're just using phantom and dropping the thieves part, but allegedly he was actually asking in the original Japanese what the English word phantom means. So it kind of annoyed. I do admit that it's one of those missed opportunities, but I think it's going to be one of those things where it's like, depending on who watches it.
Yeah,
I guess it's cooler in Japanese.
Yeah, because I know a few people are proficient in kanji and katakana.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
hold up. Dean wanted to say something.
Well, it was just that. Well, I think Cole already pointed it out. It's just I was wondering about that last part. It's like, wait, it was just Phantoms where we dropped the thieves part. I was actually thinking that now that you mentioned that, is that just mostly a translator note, or is that just a mistranslation thing?
From what I heard, from what I looked up, it was apparently a deliberate creative decision because it probably wouldn't have translated properly in the subtitles.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I get it. Because the way that Ren did say it is basically in English, so I was thinking that maybe it sounds cooler in Japanese compared to like how it is in English, because apparently anything that is spoken in English is cool in Japan.
Kind of like how gratuitous Japanese is a cool thing over here.
Pretty friggin' much.
Zach, what were
I
you
bet
going
the
to say?
Japanese word of phantoms would no doubt be badass.
Yeah, because it's like knowing that information, I don't mind it as much, but if I didn't, I would be on the idea of, oh my god, that is so stupid.
Yeah. Zachary, you were trying to say something?
Yeah. If I could just say this, I found to be weird music. There's more like one weird music placement in this episode. After they're done with like the fight, and we're gonna talk about his past and whatnot. And for some reason, they play the song regret during that bit. I'm just like, this music feels a bit weirdly placed.
I don't think so.
Wait, what part?
You know, Dean, the regret, the song where the villain confesses.
When
I have a confession. I literally don't remember any of the music cues in this episode.
Honestly, I don't. It's when Morgana was explaining how he lost his memory and he feels like in mementos he might be able to discover it.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, I think I remember hearing that. Technically, that it fits because it is still Morgana basically pouring his heart out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think it fits.
Yeah, I don't
fine.
think it's really. I don't really think it's that anything that negative, honestly.
I don't know, especially towards the end when they're all being triumphant and still playing the sad song.
Yeah, why not? Because again, Morgana's pouring his heart out.
Eh.
Dude, they've done the same kind of thing in the game as well.
Mhm.
Really? I thought that song only played during the villain parts.
No, they've played sad songs like that in the game with the characters even being triumphant and such in at the end parts, with it still playing.
I don't remember.
Oh yeah, I think one example was like after the Kamoshida confession. Basically, while everyone should be basically cheering that Kamoshida has basically confessed, everyone's like actually filled with regrets. Like, did we go too far with this?
I get regret.
Well, yeah.
It makes sense.
Well, that's what we're trying to say. Like, I don't think, and like, I think it's placed well enough, honestly, because it works with Morgana's character, him having no memory of himself, losing his form, and thinking that probably exploring mementos will help him regain his form and his memories.
Alright, I just hope the song doesn't literally play in like every episode from now on.
Does it?
I hope it doesn't.
I don't think it does. Well, I'm just trying to remember if they actually did play it in opportune spots.
No. So far, last episode and this episode, I hope they don't play it in every episode from now on.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah, it is.
Another comparison I can bring up. The thing with Shida was definitely just a tad different.
Oh, that stood out to me, and it continues to go on to my continued frustrations with Ren's lack of any kind of emotive reaction to anything.
Question: has his name even been dropped in the anime?
Yes.
It is. It was shown in like the board. It said Masayoshi Shido when he was doing the interview.
Okay, fair enough. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I was going to mention that maybe it probably is okay to mention him because he is mentioned like by name on that, and plus he shows up on TV.
And the scene itself, it's like the way it's handled is very subdued compared to the game, which unfortunately we can't get into because the anime hasn't explored that yet.
Also,
like, I'll admit that there's certain points that when the anime works for being subdued, I'm fine with it, but for this, I am just not okay.
And if I remember right, wasn't Ryuji just a bit more aggressive towards Shido in the game than here?
Yeah, he basically was like, "What the f, man?" Like, from him, which is again, Ryuji is a lot more subdued in the anime compared to the game, where the game he was a freaking wild trigger.
Though we still get Shido literally saying like, What did the place open up a daycare?
Mm-hmm.
That line is so cruel.
Yeah,
it really is. It's like it really is, especially with the way like they were being treated in that place. Like here's the thing: we also get to see An going through her own kind of bull crap, and she talks about in the game, but we actually get to see it here in the animation.
Yeah. It's only said in the game.
Yeah, that some woman bumped into her and then blamed her.
Yeah, and then they were basically like, you know what? There's a lot of shitty adults out there. We better change their hearts.
Yeah, but I actually like that they talk about this shit outside of the buffet. Like after all this went off, you want to know what that kind of implies though? That after all this went off, they just decided to leave.
Yeah, just like, fuck the food. We'll just leave.
Yeah, because they felt like they'd like, oh, you know what? It's obvious we shouldn't be here.
Yeah,
I
I'd lose
never
my
got their
appetite after
beans.
that. Oh, more beans? I really wish that line was there.
Nelson, you know what's one bit I bet you liked? I bet you liked on basically pointing at the Big Burger Challenge.
Oh yeah,
Oh god damn it.
that
It's
was
like,
funny.
and Ryuji is just like, no way, and Ren is just sitting there. It's like, yeah, um, uh, and of course we get an appearance by a stuffed toy of Jack Frost.
Oh yeah, with the plush toy and the giant statuette of Jack Frost because he's the mascot.
Didn't On actually win that thing too? I think so. Yeah.
They didn't really show it, but I think it's a play she did win it.
Yeah.
Also, if I may ask, how often is like that stereotype used of like, oh my gosh, these girls like the cute plush things. Like, is that something that's used that often?
Like, is it seen often or?
Yeah. When it comes to like fiction stuff.
I have no idea, honestly.
I think in a lot of anime,
I think it's used enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so I really don't think there's that many major differences between the game and this episode, honestly. There really isn't. There is one, and that was the beginning of the episode, where we pretty much see Akechi kind of doing like a recording, and then he hears about the Phantom Thieves from Shujin students.
Mm-hmm.
That actually works really well, because in comparison to the game, Akechi doesn't first hear about the Phantom Thieves until after the second palace.
Yep.
Yeah, and you don't even get a proper introduction to Akechi until then.
That's
the
another
one other
difference.
thing they added in this. Oh yeah.
No, you say it, Dean. You say it.
Oh, okay. The other thing that they added, and I joked about this before about like Akechi basically being prominent in this series, but they actually introduce him very early on, where he actually comes with Sai to LeBlanc, and actually introduces himself by name to Ren.
I want to punch him in the face.
You're not the only one.
Yeah, because the first time Akechi comes to the cafe is... Fuck, when does that happen? I think not long after the fourth palace, I'd like to say.
Yeah, I think it's in August.
Yeah, that's like the first time he comes around, and that's... I can't really say because that's a spoiler for later, but yeah, this is like the first time Akechi's actually in. Not only is this the first time he comes to LeBlanc way early compared to the game, he's also now introduced fully to Ren, and that doesn't happen until later.
Oh,
I don't think I would have a problem with it if it weren't for the fact that, to me, it just feels like the execution of that introduction is not very good. In fact, it reminds me of when he first went to the cafe in the game in August, which had him talking about stuff that makes you ponder, why are you telling me this when I didn't ask about it?
Exactly, you didn't ask about it, and you've only known me for like a month now, and not even that close.
Well, it feels even worse in the anime because technically at this point they've only known each other for 30 seconds.
Yeah,
it's like, hi stranger, let me tell you about myself.
Yeah,
and I want a rival.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
well, that was so ham-fisted.
That was so ham-fisted.
It's just like, I want to be your rival, and you know what a detective needs? A rival. It's like, I was about to just like, I want to go up to him and say, dude, you watch too much anime.
Ironic.
Oh my god.
Oh man. But
speaking of LeBlanc, can I just say I love that transition where it goes from Ren eating to him with him the apron on.
That was kind of funny.
Yeah, that was actually pretty good. That was pretty fun.
It was a clever transition.
I also liked Morgana's line about him needing to become friends with Takumi, and then saying, "Wow, you're taking a big risk trying that secret that experimental drug, and then Ren's like, "You told me to become friends with her."
So what the hell are you telling me for?
I know,
Yeah,
right?
it's like when Ren does open his mouth, he definitely gets his good moments. He should really do it more often.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean,
Yeah, because he still doesn't have much of a personality.
well, he does. He's, like he definitely has like a sense of justice behind him.
Yeah.
It feels like I got to see a bit more of who Ren is in this episode compared to some of the other ones, just because there's so much more. It's more of a downtime episode.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
There was something that I did want to note about Ren in particular, if I may. This is mostly just like from my own, just basically just watching him. You can note from his facial expressions a lot of the time that the dude keeps a lot of his thoughts to himself. And there's actually that big moment where they were deciding like, to become the Phantom Thieves, like actually make this a thing. You can see like the expression on his face that he's like extremely deep in thought, and this was after he encountered, that guy Shido. Even when after the encounter and he went to the elevator, you do see like the look on his face, and then he just immediately transitions from like this really serious expression to a smile, like, "Oh yeah, sure, let's do it." It's like there's hidden intentions behind him. He keeps himself hidden compared to everyone else, like a mask, basically.
But I guess he kind of
How appropriate.
Well, then again,
Yeah.
I guess he kind of does that, like, because of his, like, yeah, because definitely Ren is a lot more subdued in his nature in the animation compared to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so speaking of Ren's personality, can I just say I love that during the montage, Aunt's just like, it's like, no, just call me on. It's just like, all right, on, and Ren's like, hey, you did. It's like, hey, you didn't, did do that to me the first time, asshole. He's just like, all right, Ryuji. It's like, oh, all right then.
Well, that's the best part is that Red does, like, he does treat Ryuji a little less than, like, less nice than he should, but he doesn't hate him.
He's just joking around with
Treats
them.
him like you would treat your friends when you've known them for too long.
Pretty much.
Also, hi Yoshida again. Your 2 seconds.
Anyways, I think that's it when it comes to comparisons, honestly, because there really isn't that much in this episode.
Yeah. I was gonna bring up the after credit scene, but that's like exactly the same as it was in the game.
Exactly, it really is.
It
It's
is.
the same. They even talk about testing week in that part.
Yeah.
Which gives us a timetable of where we are right now. That would mean we're in May.
Yeah, we're in May and we're on the final day of testing because that's when that happens in the game. That scene at the end.
Mhm.
Oh, that just reminded me of something. Am I the only one that maybe it's just me being dumb, but is it implied that after Ren talks to Mishima the first time in this episode, is it implied that Mishima already knows who they are or
Yes,
something?
it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just he's
Yeah.
playing along with the whole idea of course you don't know what I'm talking about.
Which he did in the game too.
Yeah, he did that in the game as well. It's like Mishima knew who they were, but he never really said it openly too often. He just made it out like he was talking about the Phantom Thieves and not talking to the Phantom Thieves.
Okay. Because I was kind of expecting a reaction of, "Oh shit, he knows who we are."
He has known who they are, and part of me really doesn't like the attitude that's part of that, because it's basically like he's like shoulder nudging. He's like, "Hey, how about that Phantom Thieves stuff, huh? How about that Phantom Thieves
Yeah,
stuff?"
well, then again, that goes along with his confidant story when you really think about that, which I hope they dedicated an episode towards that, because Mishima's confidant is probably one of my favorites in the entire game.
Oh,
Yeah,
it certainly
Mishima's
is.
is definitely one of those ones where you're like, oh, I can't stand. Oh, wait. Where you're starting with, oh, I can't stand this character, to I want to hug and protect him.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like they haven't done this kind of thing before. Look at Persona 4 the animation, where they handled Nanako and Dojima's like social link idea in a single episode.
Yeah, and that makes me wonder how they handle it.
They're probably gonna do that with Persona 5, where we're like each confidant will probably get like an episode.
No, there's 20 of
No. Yeah, we'll run through the series that way.
them. No.
Yeah, not even the Persona 4 anime did every single confidant. It skipped over, I think, maybe 5 of them.
Even changed up some storylines and combined 4 of them into one episode.
Hell,
and,
look at the summer. Look at the summer when you basically got like 6 social links in the span of a single season.
Please!
That's why I was talking about 6. Yeah.
Yeah, and totally rushed some and didn't do ones properly. A lot of folks got more attention. I can go all day.
Plus, unlike the Persona 4 anime, Persona 5 and Persona 4 in general, Persona 5 is jam-packed with crap. Like, I'm actually a little bit nervous about how they're going to go through the rest of these, like, how many do we have left? 19 episodes?
Mm-hmm. And how they'll handle confidants, basically.
How they'll handle confidants, how they'll handle all the palaces. It took 4 episodes to go through Kamoshida, but they can't dedicate that much time to every single one of them.
Well, it made sense for Kamoshida because that was the most like connected to the main group and also the best way to start things up.
And we introduced 4
I know
of
that,
the
I know that. But what I mean by is like giving each one the proper time that it needs to. I'm worried that they won't be able to do that.
I could probably see maybe 2 episodes being spent on a palace, maybe 3 depending.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I expect 2 for the next grouping of palaces because they do need to dedicate time to confidants. It's not like Persona 3 and where they were able to skip over that because of Makoto's personality, or 4 where they can basically abridge it. This one is very story heavy, so
I just hope they do something interesting in the summer.
Well, we'll have to wait and see.
Are you sure? Don't you want to play video games with?
No.
Or talk about art with you?
Not this.
Dude, names.
Sorry. You can cut that out.
I can't say anything regarding it. I cannot say anything regarding summer because, well, yeah.
Yeah,
Could
exactly.
you please cut that out, Nelson? Please.
I'll have to censor it. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'll just say this: 18 church scene.
I want that scene so bad.
My god. But anyways, I think that's it when it comes to the comparisons. We barely have any, honestly.
Yeah, I think.
Wait, Zach, did you say church scene?
Yes.
Oh, fuck
Make it be a thing.
I want to see that post. I do.
Okay,
really
so let's move on to final thoughts. Like, okay, so Dean, what do you think about this Actually, no, Cole. Actually, oh my god, I'm all over the place.
Wait, maybe it is Dean.
Yeah, Dean. Dean. So, what do you think about this episode? Is this a good episode for general watchers, and is this a good episode for fans?
It's kind of a tough call when it comes to this because, especially since this episode is extremely like game mechanic tutorial heavy stuff. So, I guess for like folks who don't know how the inner workings of Persona 5 work, they may be intrigued by this and say, oh, that sounds interesting. Oh, I like this concept. I want to see how this goes. And probably if they're interested in the game, they would like to see it fleshed out a bit more. But for folks that are fans of the game, you've seen this before and with barely any changes that were made to it. So I don't think as a fan you would enjoy it as much, personally speaking.
And all right, Cole.
For a general audience, I think they'd probably have a good time. I think that they might see this less like a filler episode like you guys do and more like a world building episode, because when you think about it, that is essentially what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But for a regular fan like you guys, like us, well, the reactions are already here. I liked it. One person didn't. One person thought it was okay. One person different to it.
Pretty much. It depends, really.
Yeah, it's going to really depend more like whether you're interested in seeing what they change or more like interested in seeing how they execute everything. And I'm more on the execution side.
And that's fair. It's like they did a good job executing the thing. It's just that personally, it's like, I think
more new stuff.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And I understand that.
All right.
So that's my opinion.
All right, Zachary, you're up.
I'm definitely in the belief that newcomers would definitely enjoy this more than more than fans, because newcomers might find this really interesting, while us fans here would be like, whatever. Yeah, it's alright, and I got nothing else to say.
For like general watchers, I definitely say this episode they'll like people get intrigued by, like the mere idea of mementos will probably intrigue general watchers, and also the name that's being like that was said by Nakanohara, which is Madarame, and otherwise a lot of these kind of smaller scenes a lot of the general watchers I'm pretty sure would enjoy seeing. as for
Oh.
a as for a fan, I gotta be honest and say this is one of the first skips. I have to say this is an episode you can skip, honestly, because nothing really changes compared to the game except for one or two scenes, and even then you could just easily get like a glossary summary of those two scenes from anyone who's watched the episode already. So for a general watcher, you're going to enjoy yourself, but for a fan, this is the first episode I can definitely say you can skip.
Hey, Nelson, you talking about general watchers, and I was like, oh, did you say Mementos? But boy, aren't those newcomers gonna be disappointed if they decide to play Persona 5?
Memento sucks.
It blows. It extremely blows.
And I hate to be that guy, but the fresh maker. I had to do that joke at least once. Oh, I'm about to kill myself.
Mhm.
I bet I can imagine somebody be like, ooh, this Mementos place looks cool. I can't wait to play the game. Oh boy,
you
aren't
will
you?
dread it. You
Well,
will hate that
yeah, well-
place.
Yeah, well, luckily, if you're a fan of Persona 3 like I am, Mementos will seem like a cool little place.
Yeah, you'll be. Then again, I hate Tartarus. So.
I'm sorry, but I like Persona 3 is still my least favorite Persona game, but I would rather go through Tartarus than go through Mementos, because
I
Tartarus
feel
actually
the-
has good music.
Oh
Hey,
yeah.
Oh!
Hey, Cole, don't you just love that same repetitive music over and over again?
Dun, dun,
That will be engulfed in your brain forever.
Exactly. At least with like the costumes in Persona 5, you can change the battle theme. But Mementos, nope, it's the same fucking. Even the fucking network of Amala in Nocturne, like changed up the music when you went further and further down.
Yeah, and even Tartarus like changed up his music. So...
Yeah. Every block that
Yeah.
you made it to, they changed it up.
And the
The only
visuals were
time-
more interesting.
The only time Mementos music ever changes is the last area.
I know, right? But anyway,
That's
Get out of
what
my
showed up in this
nightmares.
episode.
But anyways, I think we can end it here, and this is our shortest podcast episode, only 45 minutes.
Woo!
That figures.
Well, that should go to show you, because there's very little to talk about in this, and there's barely any changes and otherwise. So, with that said, like, what did you think about the episode? Do you have a different opinion compared to us? Do you think that there's something that we should have talked about? Go ahead and leave your comments down below, and we'll discuss it in the comment section.
We should have talked about a catchy war.
Mm.
Damn it, I just realized something. You know
What?
who showed up in this episode and she did not talk to Ren or make the comment about how, oh, I know someone who goes to Shujin Academy. And when we saw the same character in this episode,
Oh,
Who?
sigh.
You mean
Oh.
Sai?
Oh, right!
Yes, it's like, no, Sai does not look at Ren, look at his uniform and be like, oh, I know someone who goes to Shujin. In the same episode that we're introduced to someone I can't say.
Oh, fucking hell.
Because a catchy's
but-
more
but-
important.
Cole, don't you know? We need to focus on how Akechi needs to have a rival.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Or depending on who you talk to, a romance.
Oh,
That's it. We will.
Can we end it? End it.
We will
End it.
I don't ship it either. I don't ship it, but I want to punch him in the face.
We will catch you all for the next episode, and the next target is. So till next time, I'm Keenan47 aka Wolfkeen, along with.
I'm DM Ikami / DM Point 3000.
I'm FlOrangey, and apparently I made everybody in this chat uncomfortable. Good.
And I'm Mario Family 15, and I find it funny how basically last episode was our longest, and this is our shortest.
I know, ain't that ironic?
A new record.
Yeah, and then just watch the next episode be fucking 2 hours long. Finally, just watch one of these episodes actually reach 2 hours.
It's like
I'm gonna be talking about that new guy for an hour.
Anyways,
it's like that. It's like that's it. We gotta talk about this for 2 hours.
Anyways, till next time, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
What a weird episode.
I know, right?
Let's punch a catchy.